Hello there, my name's Dave. There are a lot of sim pilots out there who would like to increase the realism and therefore the pleasure that they get out of their online flying experience by acting as close to real pilots as possible, but they don't really know how to do that because they've never had formal pilot training. This short series of videos is meant to give an introduction to the basics of general aircraft flight operations. This first chapter is a real exciting one. We're just going to be looking at all the controls and instruments you find in the cockpit. Hold on to your hats, folks. The aircraft that we'll be using is the Cessna 150L. It's a small, stable, trustworthy, and extremely reliable little airplane. A lot of fun to fly, too, in my personal opinion. We'll begin with instruments and by looking at the primary flight cluster. Up here we have the airspeed indicator, the attitude indicator, altimeter, then underneath them the turn and bank indicator, the heading indicator, not the compass, and the vertical airspeed indicator. The primary flight instruments are also known as the six-pack. Now, as for the secondary instruments, we have the clock there, very important, the engine tachometer, the Hobbs meter, the suction gauge, ammeter, the left and right fuel tank indicators, the engine oil pressure gauge, and the oil temperature gauge. What else do we have in here? Well, let's take a look. Over here we have the flaps position indicator. The flaps are down right now for pre-flight, as you can see. Up here, this is the compass. What was down on the control panel was the heading indicator. This is the compass, just a bar magnet floating in alcohol. Next we have the parking brake, the primer, the magnetos switch, the master switch. These black buttons under here are the fuses. Above them we have the light cluster, the throttle, mixture controls, flap controls, and cabin venting. In the center of the panel we have the radio stack, and then the important bits, the flight yoke, and the pedals down on the footwell there. This is the trim wheel and indicator, and the master fuel valve. And that's it. Chapter 2 will look at the pre-flight startup and ground handling.